Rotarians, please all rise for the forward test. The forward test of the things we think, say, or do. First,
is it true?
Second,
is it fair or unfair?
Third,
will you have relationships?
Fourth,
will you be
Thank you. Please be seated. PPM, please lead us to sing the Rotary song.
R-O-T-A-R-Y, that spells Rotary. R-O-T-A-R-Y is known on Lincoln Sea. From north to south, from east to west, he profits more, who serve the best. R-O-T-A-R-Y, that spells Rotary.
Thank you, PBI. Introduction of visiting Rotarians and honorable guests. May we have PP Juice to introduce.
Thank you, President Lu and fellow Rotarian. I would like to introduce you today's guests. First of all, we have our speaker of today, Steve Fenton. I will make a little more detail later. And also, we're very happy to see Wang Mingwei, the guest of air. He's been to our club second time. We're looking forward to see more. Thank you.
Thank you, PP Juice. Next, President's time.
Good afternoon, everyone. Yesterday is supposed to be a pretty important day for the Asia Pacific region. It's the general election of Indonesia with a population over 200 million people. But all my news feed and all my pages were filled with the news, say, a message from the sea goddess, Maju. So it kind of bothers me whether I switch to BBC or NBC or Bloomberg News. We were all filled with this news from Taiwan that we get messages from sea goddess. And I think that we had a minor earthquake just then. That may have been another message. On behalf of our club, I want to welcome our speaker, Steve. And looks like a very inspiring topic today. And also me, who's second time here with our club. The 2019 most beautiful hotel in Taiwan is Taocheng Cha Yangzi in Jiayi. That's also Ming's project. So we're very honored and to have him with us here today, and very sincerely would like to invite him to be one of our members. Over the past week, we had a couple of events in our club and district. We had the Interact Clubs held its annual conference. PP Steel was there on behalf of our club, and I think they did a terrific job on behalf of Rotary Club of Taichung Dathong. We attended the charter ceremony, the founding charter started ceremony of Rotary Club of Taichung Yanagawa Liuchuanshe. They are the only charter club of this year in our sub-district. So the charter president is Tina, which is a former member of our club. I think it was, I want to thank everyone for attending the event that evening. And yesterday, we held a meeting, a spouse program. I heard it was oversubscribed at Sake Ladi. Did I pronounce that correct? Sake Ladi, yes. Yes. I tried to make it there, but I was a little bit late. I think most of the spouses left, and they had a good time there. We had more photos passing around in the spouse chat group, I believe. And we also, IPP Simon and PE Jess and I also visited our prospective member. The board has approved Tim's application, and hopefully we can get your support on inviting Tim on board. And last but not the least, we want to congratulate PP Robin, whose family welcomed the third Dr. Chan of his family. So they have 3 Dr. Chans in the family. Congratulations to Robin and Julian. That's all from my part, right? Thank you. Thank you very much.
Okay, just a reminder that our mother club, Rotary Club of Taichung, will have their 64th charter ceremony on May 17th at Evergreen Hotel. It happened to clash to our second outing. So for members who don't join second outing, please make your time to attend this charter ceremony. And please register with M. Okay, next is our main program, and we have Phoebe Juice to introduce our speaker today.
Thank you. So, it is really my great pleasure and honor to introduce you to today's guest speaker, Steve. I know Steve because he and his wife, Amy, they are a good neighbor with my daughter, Eileen, and her husband, Frank. And Steve was born in UK, and he has a quite dynamic life experiences and style. And he will do more detailed self-introduction later by his own words. And he is currently the CEO of Polite International, based in Taichung, and which is a very high-end bicycle or related industry company. So today, he will share with us his past life experiences and unique opinion. So let's welcome Steve.
Thank you. Okay, let's bring that to full screen. Yep. Okay, let's just make sure that works. How do I turn this on? Okay. Ladies, gentlemen, thank you so much for inviting me today. It's a great honour when I get the opportunity to speak as I'm going to speak today, because it gives me the opportunity to share what I think is something that I'm very privileged to be involved with. And although I have a very good job, I have a very successful company, I'm also allowed to spend quite a lot of time outside the business doing something that I'm very passionate about, and that's spending time in another world. That other world is 70% of this planet. It's called the ocean. So I get to spend an awful lot of time underwater. And what I want to do today is to try and give you an example, a very positive example of just one thing that I'm involved with, and it does have an effect, and it's linked to the title. Now the title sounds very grand, very detailed. It's not, it's something that's really simple, and everything I do in my life, I like to keep things simple, because I tell everybody it needs to be simple because I didn't go to school for very long. So what I'm saying here today is that I've been involved with educating future generations to take responsibility for decisions that they make. And these are simple decisions. So what I want to do in the next few minutes is try to create a bit of a scenario and a little bit of a recap of where we are now, okay? So we are, most of us in this room, probably 3rd or 4th generation since World War II. And we have better healthcare, amazing education, amazing communication. And the thing is, we have convenience for everything. Now, convenience is a word that you will hear me use on a regular basis during the next few minutes while we talk. And I hope there's a message in here that I can get across and try to convey how I see convenience and how I've been able to get younger people to realise that convenience is also, it's not only a good thing, but it's also a bad thing. Okay? So, how did we get here? Well, we all believe that the older generation has a responsibility for the younger generation, and of course, that's true. And it's common knowledge that we always want the best for our family, for our kids. We always want the best for them, because I think it's true to say we probably didn't have what they've got today, and that's been the story of mankind for many generations. Now, there's always a pressing motivator to take action and to create self-interest. Now, the logic of this is that we end up using natural resources, and we're not too bothered about when those resources are going to run out. Oil, for example, because we're probably not going to be around when oil runs out. And we're not in a position to really do anything to clean up the mess that oil creates or the problems that it's going to create when oil does run out. So what we have to do is we have to look carefully at where we are now and how did we get there. And we've got to look carefully at how future generations are going to meet their own needs, because we need to start educating people to think outside the box. So, we all worry about things. We worry about the future, we worry about the environment, the economy, everything, the pollution. The world is full of people who worry about everything, right? Now, I don't worry about everything, but I do worry about certain things. And, we worry about the air, the water, the soil, food, chemicals, radiation, absolutely everything, right? It's actually, what always makes me laugh is we worry about saving endangered species. We worry about saving endangered species, okay? It's actually just one more arrogant way of the humans trying to control nature. Now, don't get too negative about this, because there's a positive side to it, okay? Okay, a quick fact here. 90% of all the species that have ever lived on this planet are gone. Okay? We didn't kill them all. Yeah. They just went away, because that's what nature does. Okay? Yeah. Now, humans, we want to save whales, trees, bees, oceans. We want to save the planet. Really? So, we don't actually know how to take care of ourselves right now. If you look at everything else that goes on around us. And unfortunately, human arrogance is growing. So people are actually fooled into thinking that I can pay to this charity and they'll help the problem to go away. Because really what we all want is a safe place to live, a clean environment, or as we say to somebody, a nice place to park our Volvos. Okay? So, save the planet. Let's face a few facts here. The planet's been here for 4.5 billion years. Humans, 100,000, maybe 200,000. So humans have to stop thinking that we're a threat to the planet. I know that says threat, but it should say threat. We're kidding ourselves. If you do the maths, 2.5 billion years against 200,000, okay? The planet's doing just fine, okay? We're focused, for example, on plastic in the oceans. And I can tell you, plastic will not kill the oceans. Like it says there, the planet's not going anywhere. We are. Okay? Now, the planet's been through much worse than the human race. Earthquakes, as we've just had one. Volcanoes, continental drifts, solar flares, sunspots, magnetic reversal of the poles, bombardment of asteroids, floods, tsunamis, massive fires, and ice ages. So let's go back to the start. What I want to talk about is educating future generations to take responsibility. Okay? So, I was born in the 60s. And when I was growing up, I didn't know anybody who suffered with diabetes, asthma, allergies. Now, when we look around us in today's environment, we all know at least someone who suffers with one of these things, and the question is, why? Okay? So, back to this word convenience. We've been brainwashed into thinking that convenience is good for them, and it's good for the economy, and it's good for the country. And we're surrounded by information, but people don't know how to use it, or they simply don't want to know. Okay? So when I go somewhere, it amazes me. I see people, as soon as they get the chance, they're there. I've got to check my Instagram. Oh my God, oh my God. And quite often I'm looking at going, what on earth are they looking at? And it goes back in the pocket. 30 seconds goes by. Oh God, I better check it again. What is wrong with these people? Hey, come on, we've all done it, but you know what I'm talking about, okay? And what I'm trying to say is that this is linked to convenience, okay? Now I have a question, okay? As it says on here, we love convenience, right? We love convenience. But I've got an example. Can somebody put your hands up? Who doesn't smoke? Put your hands up. Anybody who doesn't smoke? Why don't you smoke? It's not a trick question.
I like the smell.
Okay. Any other reason?
It's got a little bit expensive.
And
It's unhealthy.
good. So that's why you don't. But you eat fish. I saw you having some fish with your lunch.
Yeah.
Right. See that there?
Yeah.
Okay. It's not a problem. It's gone away. Where does that cigarette butt go to? Because we've got an amazing thing that surrounds us called the ecosystem. The wind comes, the rain comes, and it goes down the drain. And the drain goes to a river, and it ends up in the sea. And guess where that ends up? Inside that fish. Okay? That's just one example. The ecosystem takes care of it. Okay? Now, like I said before, we're our own worst enemies, and we love convenience. Right. I'll ask you this again. So you eat green vegetables, yeah?
Yes.
Because it's good for you.
Yes.
Right. But do you know how much pollution gets inside that green vegetable? You don't, because you can't measure it. So we hope it's clean, we hope it's safe, and we hope it's doing ourselves some good, right? Again, the wind and the rain takes care of that because it's the ecosystem. Okay? So, don't get too negative about this. There's a positive message coming soon, okay? We need to change the way our generation and future generations think. That's just two examples. They're simple examples, right? Look at electricity in Taiwan. This is just purely my opinion, and I hope nobody from Tai Power's here today, but it's too cheap, right? It is too cheap. And you look at all these lovely buildings that we've had designed by people like you, they're all lit up at night, yeah? Because it's powered by LED, because that's okay. LED uses less electricity, but it still has to be paid for, and it still has to be generated. So we look at all the hundreds of thousands of lights left on. When you fly over Taiwan on a clear night, which is not so often these days, you can see thousands and thousands of lights left on, okay? So if we look at the AQI, the Air Quality Index, right? Please don't blame China. They're as bad as anybody, but don't blame China. We have to blame ourselves. Because that is just down the road from where we're sitting right now. The second biggest coal-fired power station in the world and the biggest polluting power station in the world. Okay? Our children, our children's children, and ourselves, we're all being poisoned by what's coming out of that. I mean, like I walked here today, I only live across the street, and I've got a carbon filter mask on my face. Okay? It's really important that we start to think about our loved ones suffering in the future, because it's happening right now. Okay? So, I want to give you a quick example. Last week I was diving in the Philippines, and we were actually doing a photo shoot for a company. Now, when you go in 7-Eleven or Family Mart, you can get these great food things, you can get them all heated up, and they'll put them in a little plastic bag, which expands. I think we've all seen these, yeah? Now, this is a cuttlefish that I spent 20 minutes, me and my colleagues spent 20 minutes untangling from one of these bags. They don't use them in the Philippines, so how did it get there? Okay, so that is one very, very happy cuttlefish that we got a picture of. But it took me 20 minutes to cut all the thing away from this thing, you know, because it kept trying to fight with me as well. So, back to convenience. When I was a kid, it was a luxury, as I'm sure it was for all of us, okay? But today, our children, our children's children, they expect it, okay? So what I want to try and do with the people I talk to is to turn the table a little bit. You can't force people because they're surrounded by this, but you can get them to change their attitude. We need to get politicians and governments to actually do something. And I'm talking about politicians who are not frightened of losing a vote by saying the wrong thing or doing the wrong thing to the voters. Unfortunately, the politicians are good at saying things, but they're obsessed with not losing any votes. So the question is, can attitudes be changed? And the answer is yes, because I'm going to show you how I've done it. So if I can do it, you can do it, okay? I've been able to physically show people how to change their attitude, and they feel good about it, because people need to feel good about doing something new or doing something different, okay? So, what I want to do is to try and explain how I use scuba diving with younger people. This is just one way I found that works, okay? So, when I take anybody underwater and I train them to become a scuba diver, I take them to another dimension, and it's another world. Now, I've been diving for many, many years. I learned to dive back in 1981, and I can tell you, every time that I roll back into the water and I go down beneath the water, I still get this amazing buzz here that I got all those years ago. It still has an effect, and I feel privileged to be allowed to go into this other world, okay? And this is the effect that it has on my students. So, for example, I could take them down and I could show them something like that. That is smaller than my fingernail. And this thing is part of an ecosystem, and I can show you how it integrates. And it opens people's eyes, okay? Their eyes are open to how this other world evolves and how we're actually having an effect on it, okay? And once you're under the water, you are immersed into the other environment, because you are so focused on staying alive, but also you're drawn in to seeing life as you've never seen it before. And you know, here in Southeast Asia, we do have absolutely amazing marine life. It's one of the best places in the world to go diving here in Southeast Asia. Okay, but what it does is it allows you to see life from another perspective, okay? So, without the oceans, we will not survive. And at the moment, we're doing a pretty good job in damaging them. Just in case anybody here doesn't know, that 50% of the world's oxygen comes out of the oceans, and the oceans cover 70% of this planet. That is a picture I took last week. Remember what I just mentioned about the cigarette butt and things like that? All these particles you can see here are garbage. That is all being, and that had been offloaded by a boat in the sea, okay? And this poor turtle was trying to find its lunch. The visibility was horrendous. It was just like a huge cloud coming through the sea. I couldn't believe what I was seeing. And the problem is that things get dumped in the ocean, and it's out of sight and it's out of mind, okay? So the ability to look at things differently is called perspective taking, and it's a human skill, okay? And once we introduce people to different perspectives, people actually become more aware of where they fit into life on this planet, okay? And it makes my job a lot easier to explain to younger people about the consequences of taking that plastic straw with that carton of juice that they've just bought in 7-Eleven. Keeping it simple, as I said before, okay? So what we did is we took a group of children from the Philippines who would never get the chance to go scuba diving because it's too expensive for them. But it's actually really cheap. It costs around $75 to take a kid scuba diving for the day. And that $75 will change that young person's life forever. I can absolutely guarantee you. Because they're never going to get the opportunity to see this and to see the effects of what we're doing by being convenient, okay? So I've seen how these kids go back to school and they do a project and they tell the rest of the school how they were brought to Anilau and how they got to see things in a different light, okay? And I know these kids, because we make them pick up all the straws on the beach before they go home. So you can take these back, you know, you can reuse them, you know? We get them to take care of the environment, okay? So my message to you is, how can we contribute to this? And what I'm saying is that there's the opportunity in Taiwan now to take young children, because we all know that once we get a message into their brains, it stays there forever. We can't take that memory away. And we want to make them ask these questions. These are the questions what we ask the students at the end of the day. Do you need everything you eat to be wrapped in plastic? You go in a 7-Eleven store and, you know, they've got a banana wrapped in a plastic bag. You know, we don't need the plastic, okay? But it looks cool, you know, it's part of the selling process. Do you need these lights on? Now, I'm amazed how many people actually have the lights and their air conditioning turned on before they get home, done by their cell phone. You know? It's amazing, because it's convenient, okay? But it is having an effect on the environment, and it's having an effect on what is going on this planet, because that coal is burnt, it generates the electricity, and it's great that your apartment's 21 degrees when you walk in after a hard day at work, but it's at a price. It's at a price that we can't actually put a value on, because it's so big. So by engaging children to understand the effects that humans not only have on the planet, but on themselves. So we're able to sort of say, this is the big picture, but this is you. This is you. This is what the effect is when you go in that store and, you know, they give you things wrapped in a plastic bag or with the straw. They don't realise that when you buy a carton of milk, built into the price of that carton of milk is a patent fee for the man who developed the Tetra Pak. You don't need a straw. You pop it open and it's designed to drink it straight from... But people have to put the plastic straw in. And by the way, the plastic straw comes wrapped in plastic. You know? How much more plastic do we need? You know? But anyway, so here's the thing. If just one person in this room today can pick up on the message that I'm trying to give, that if you can get this message across to one young person and it has a positive effect on what they do with their life or what they do with their purchasing or how they go about them, then it's been worthwhile me being here today. But what I would love to do is on a medium to long-term basis, if you guys would ever be interested in me and my friends taking a group of young people to the ocean and spending a weekend with them or whatever, we will gladly do that, and we will change their perspective on hopefully what decisions they make and how those decisions will affect their future life. Okay? I don't want it to sound too negative, but there's a strong message here, and it's really easy to do. To change the opinions of younger people and to get them to take responsibility for those decisions, it's not that difficult, because if I can do it, I guarantee you that every one of you can do it as well. So that's the end of my presentation. I'd like to say thank you for listening to me, and if you've got any questions, please fire away. Any questions? No? Good.
Ma'am, Steve, ma'am, you're in ocean quite a lot, and just wondering if you get any messages from the Matsu. No, that's not my real question. that wasn't my real question.
You haven't got my number.
My question is actually, you're into scuba diving, and so you guys like you guys have like the full equipment that you're grabbing. Is that why you don't get because you don't get the can from, you know, ocean sport enthusiasts? Is that the reason that you don't get the level can, or do you take good care of your skin?
When we're in the ocean, we actually encourage people to protect themselves as much as possible, even to wear even a lycra or a thin neoprene hood, because it is easy to get stung by things. These fellas here, the turtles, they will eat stinging jellyfish, but when they bite them, they'll go into several pieces, and the tentacles can be floating around, and you know, it can touch you on the face or on the back of your head, and it'll give you a bit of a sting, but you know, a little bit of vinegar, and you know, you're taken care of. But when we are in the ocean, we have certain rules, and the rules is, number one, we don't touch anything. That includes the bottom. When we train divers, we teach them to stay buoyant, so they're not actually disturbing the seabed. Just when the fin, for example, just stirs up the sand, it actually has an environmental effect. So we have one is we don't touch anything, and two, we have the buddy system, which means that you are never more than 2 seconds away from your partner. So if I was to allocate you guys as teams, I'd say you two, you two, you two. You would never be more than 2 seconds away. And if I see you more than 2 seconds away, I will indicate to you two to come back together. Because I need to know that you can take care of each other if anything happens. Yeah.
Is there any question?
It sounds like you have a plastic-free life.
As much as possible, I do, yes.
Yes, so according to your experience, the most difficult part is what, and how do you deal with it?
From a personal point of view, I'm very conscious about what we buy to eat, and in my house we cook what we're going to eat today. And you know, for example, if I go in a supermarket to buy fruit and I see it individually wrapped, I simply won't buy it. End of story. I have places that I can go where I can buy stuff which I know has come straight from the farmer or whatever. And funny, yesterday was my day to go to the market, and the lady that I buy my vegetables off still finds it crazy that I've got a 10 yen plastic bag that I've been using for over 12 months. So it goes in my backpack and it pulls out, and she still can't believe I'm still using the same plastic bag. But unfortunately it was starting to break yesterday, so that's been replaced by a cotton one, and that was about the only piece of plastic that... From our company's point of view, we are in an environment where cyclists are invariably quite environmentally conscious of things, and they judge a brand by the packaging that they use. So we use virtually no plastic at all, and we use certain kinds of polystyrene which can be recycled, and wherever possible we just try not to use any plastic whatsoever. People are becoming more aware, but plastic isn't the only problem, okay? I've used plastic today as an example, but the air we breathe is 1,000,000 times more dangerous than the plastic in the oceans. The planet will deal with plastic. When we're gone, believe me, the planet, it's a self-generating, self-fixing ecosystem. It will take care of, the planet will go back to being how it was before we got here. The only thing is it'll be the planet plus plastic. And there's a bit of a joke, you know, maybe the planet wanted plastic for itself. It didn't know how to get it, so that's why we were brought here, you know. You've got to look at it in a positive light. And the main thing is that the message today is that younger people need to realise that convenience is something that we grew up with it was kind of cool, you know, but to them they expect it. But there's a price to pay for that. And that's the message that we try to convey to young people. We don't necessarily have to take them in the ocean, you know. We do beach cleans. We did a beach clean just near Taichung Harbour last year. We had about 40 people, and in 2.5 hours we collected 430 kilos of garbage off the beach. And you know, one of the most common, the most common item we collected? Cigarette lighters. People finish them, they throw them away. They go down the drain just as easy as a cigarette butt does, and they all end up being washed up on the shore. You know, but you show young children, you know, you get them on the beach and they're picking it up, and they have a sense of pride, you know, and that's the perfect age to get them to not change their attitude, because maybe they haven't already got an attitude, but to make them realise the consequences of throwing something on the floor. You know, that's my message, is that, you know, we can all do it. We can all help. If you try to force young people, believe me, they don't listen. The barrier goes up, these get closed, and they're not interested. You've got to make them feel important. You've got to make them feel that I just make a difference. And it can be done, you know. Kids are really smart. We were all kids once. So.
Well, we were smart.
Yeah, I just want how to be smart.
Maybe not anymore.
Yeah. But
Any more questions?
No?
No.
Thanks.
Thank you so much, everybody. Thank you.
Please remain and accept our gift from President.
Oh, thank you. That was quick.
That's pretty convenient.
Yeah. Hey, too convenient. Cheese. Thank you so much. Thank you, everybody. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Okay, next is attendance report. May we have P.D. to give us a report?
Okay, let me have today's attendance report. We have 22 Rotarians, no visiting Rotarian, and 2 guests. So the total attendance rate is 69%. Not bad.
Surgeon at Arm report. May we have P.D. Skin?
President, hello everyone. Today we have 3 donations. First from Essen, strong and persuasive speech, appreciate. Thank you, Essen. And second from our DP Juice, very good talk by Steve. Thank you, Juice. And the last from our President. Thank you, Steve. Message from today's presentation. Stop worrying. Good to see me again. Okay, thank you, President. Thank you.
No joke today? No joke today?
No joke.
No joke. Do we have joke today?
No. Like the President goal. Mazu tell me in my dream. Be more serious. Thank you.
Okay, this weekend we are having an international service with Kebuguan. So if you are interested, you can come to Telongpu Folk Preservation Park at 9:30 on Saturday, and we will have 2 tables for lunch. And if you are interested, please contact with Anne. In April 25th, we are having Zhang Junxiang 博士 to give us a speech in next week. And next week is our husband and wife day, so all the spouses are welcome to attend. And that's all for today. President Liu.
Yeah, I want to thank Steve for his speech. And like he mentioned, we always worry too much. And as many of you, most of you know that our second outing is going to be May 15th to May 19th to Japan, Hokkaido. And another latest recent development on the news kind of worries me, as well as the labor union negotiation with EVA Air has not yet reached their agreement yet. So we're keeping our fingers crossed, hope they will either do it now, soon, or try to reach an agreement as soon as possible. But anyway, I want to thank everybody here again for attending, and we hope to invite Ming to join our meetings again, so he will be qualified to join our club. Thank you very much.